Hey folks, Quilly18 here, and welcome to an episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. It's been a while. Let me just engage the auto ascent module over here so I can talk about what our plans are here with Kerbal. So I've actually gone and stripped out a bunch of mods because we really were starting to experience a lot of slowdown. Now, some of it, I've done some study, and you can see here every now and again there's that stutter, and it sounds like that's just built into Kerbal. It's part of the garbage collection system in the Unity game engine that Kerbal uses that is often not a problem, but comes up more often in Kerbal. And apparently, the more sort of user interface stuff you've got going on, the worse it gets. Now, I know that in Kerbal 1.1, which is being worked on, the user interface system is being completely redesigned, because this is like old school Unity, like years and years old, the most original UI sort of setup that Unity has got, which is particularly bad. So hopefully what's going to happen is when they switch over to and they are updating Kerbal to Unity 5, which, in addition to just being way more optimized in general, includes some new user interface stuff that is apparently going to be used in Kerbal. So hopefully that will go and optimize things and get rid of that occasional little stutter. It's very annoying because, like, my frame rate is fantastic, except that every 10 seconds we get a stutter for a half second where it just is waiting. So so that part we really can't do much about, but certainly the mods were adding a heck of a lot of overhead, and so what I've done is stripped some of it out, and I've taken out all my visual mods other than Planet Shine, which I need so that you guys can actually see our ships when we're on the dark side. But most notably, I have, and I've removed some other visual mods, but most notably, I have removed remote tech, because it was fun. It was an interesting challenge to set up. I really, really, really enjoyed playing with remote tech. But now, as we move on to doing things that are further and further away, remote tech is, while still sort of an interesting challenge, is mostly just becoming tedious at this point. It's like, oh yeah, we're on the far side of Eve or whatever, so we don't have a signal, so we've got to wait 12 hours. I mean, it's not hard. It's not difficult anymore, really. At this point, it's just like, okay, well, we know what to do. We'll wait. We'll do this. We'll send some extra satellites, so and so and so. And especially with the delay signal and things, and the fact that we can't really program our probes the way that an actual probe going that far would be, then what I've decided to do is take out remote tech. And one of the advantages of it is it will help me clean up space dramatically, right? Because all those satellites in orbit are no longer going to be required. And that's one of the really big reasons I'm doing it. I can just strip out all these extra ships in space and minimize how much stuff the game has to keep track of, and hopefully optimize things a wee bit more. So that was important. The other reason, and the purpose of this mission, is my Minmus base is actually all screwed up. I don't know where it happened. I don't know if it was one of the mods that changed, one of my parts ever so slightly, or it's just a side effect of the fact that my Minmus base was quite spread out because of what I did with the Kerbal attachment system, and I sort of kept plugging in extra little modules, and maybe the base ended up a weird shape. But whenever I load the Minmus base now, it instantly decides to, like, hop into the air, flip around, and then crash onto the ground. And basically it's shaking itself apart every time I load that base. So there is something horribly, horribly, horribly wrong going on there. And I don't want to lose the Kerbals there. I mean, I could. Who cares? We could hire some more, right? They're only Kerbals. But I figure for appropriateness, I will go and rescue that base. I'm going to go ahead and pick those people up. And then my next goal is to really properly develop some long-term bases. I want to... I actually have a mission to send a tourist to Jewel, which we could sort of kind of do as is. But what I'm really tempted is to make a ship with a lot of, like, the built-in sustain thing. Plus, we have the mission to do the casino in space, and that will also require a lot of the space, the long-term survival stuff, just so that we don't constantly have to ship supplies up, right? If we have some greenhouses and things up there, then that base can go a lot longer between resupply runs, which is really, really, really cool. So that's what I'm going to be starting on. And so before we get there, I'm going to try to clean up as much as possible. The moon base still seems to be working okay, which is good news. And so I may be able to leave them there without shaking themselves apart. They still have tons and tons of supplies, so that is fine. I'm a little bit worried because one of the things I had to do when I removed remote tech is Remote Tech adds a bunch of antennas, right? So any ship that had one of those antennas, that part doesn't exist anymore, when you load your save, Kerbal just has to delete those ships. It lets you know, this ship has been deleted because we don't have part XYZ. So what I don't know is whether my moon base still has at least an antenna left. And if it doesn't, it means that it actually won't be able to transmit any science. So even though it might still be working, it might not be in a proper shape. And in any case, I'm going to want to pick up the people from that moon base at some point soon. Ideally, I would like to let it to finish all of its sciencing, but we may have to pick them up before then. I suppose I could send a mission over there that's just got an antenna, a new antenna to attach on, using like one of the default built-in antennas that in Remote Tech wouldn't have range. Of course, in the base Kerbal, all the antennas have the exact same range, so it doesn't matter what you use. And you don't need the antenna for anything other than transmitting science. Anyway, we are fully circularized here, so we're good there. I'm going to go ahead and just open up the smartass, which will be a little bit easier to issue some commands in. Although, really, all we have to do now is we're going to the moon over here, so right around there, we will add a maneuver. Actually, probably a little bit later than that, if I can drag it properly, which is tricky because there's a lot of stuff going on. There we go. Somewhere more like that. Yank you out. There we go. And of course, as always, we could always just eyeball it. Let me focus over here. Make sure we're coming on the correct side of the moon, and we are. No, I want to use the maneuver over here and adjust it so that we're coming in on a relatively low orbit. Good, that'll be good enough. We'll have to make some fine-tuning adjustments at some point anyway, because this maneuver will never execute perfectly, and that's okay. Do I still have my Delta V info? My current stage is enough Delta V for it. Good! I will have to use some for my... Oh, no, I'm not going to the moon. Whoa, I'm going to Minmus. Come on. Backspace. Recenter over here. Where's Minmus right now? Over there. So we put it at the 12 o'clock. And somewhere around here. Now, I don't have the Minmus inclination done. It would be quite expensive to change my inclination to match Minmus in the current orbit. So what we'll have to do is do our best attempt at maybe intercepting here. And it might fail to intercept because of our elevation here. That is the one downside. Now, I can go and do a burn here as part of the same maneuver. There we go. We'll get a slight intercept there, which I'm going to accept. And then over here, what we're going to do is burn, burn downwards. Burn anti-normal compared to Kerbal, which will do a better job of dropping our orbit so that we don't come in polar. Because we want to come in mostly equatorial so that we can match our where our station is. Okay, that's going to be good enough. I can use either this to point to the maneuver, or I'll just use the smartass one, since it tends to wibble wobble a lot less. It's effectively the same as using the normal SAS, but the smartass has a funnier name, therefore it's better to use. Now, one thing I do miss is the flight computer from Remote Tech, because it was really fun to just say, okay, point to the node, queue up executing the node, we'll auto fast forward to it, excellent. And now I have to remember that what I want to do is tell you, quick save, click here, warp to next maneuver. We're already facing in the right direction for the maneuver, we just have to make sure we start the burn. Ideally, 15 seconds before we do that, although I don't know my true burn time. This may be inaccurate depending on things, because this, system is pretty terrible. The navball prediction is often inaccurate. If you haven't done a burn on your current stage, that will often be the case. But we did do a burn, so I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, so it should have the right time. Can I not time warp? Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. That's why. There we go. Just bring it down to about 15 seconds. Good. And I'm facing the node, so go for burn. Nope, there we go. Burn time was wrong, in fact. It went estimated burn from 15 seconds to 2 minutes, 41 seconds. Thank you! Thank you so much, Navball, for being horribly, horribly, horribly inaccurate. So we're not going to do our burn in anything close to the optimal spot. We will stay locked to the maneuver, which means, it will update, and we're still burning along there. And in the end, our final direction and velocity will be the same as what we planned our maneuver, but our position at the start and end of the burn is not exactly what is expected, so we might be off of our target. But probably not by very much. So we'll go ahead and execute this burn anyway, but that is very frustrating. Very frustrating. That's the other thing. The flight computer correctly knows the burn time. And so you don't have that little issue. What you can do to get past it is you can just fire your engine once ahead of time before you do the burn, and it'll update the estimated burn based on your actual sort of thrust to weight that's going to happen. But I mean, I should have guessed that it was way off because I know my thrust to weight is under 1 with this engine setup, so yeah. Anywho, my lander should be a pretty basic, simple affair. It detaches over here, and then we'll use these engines. This should be plenty of thrust to weight, especially for Minmus. Nice wide landing base, which is what I'm looking for. It's quite easy to tip over and fall. We've got enough room in here for 7 Kerbals, which I think is everyone we've got on Minmus. Worst case scenario, we leave someone behind. They get to reenact their favorite bits from The Martian, and then eventually die. Well, not eventually. They'll die when I delete the ship. So I didn't actually go and check the base. I was like, yeah, I'll make this. There's room for 2 people in here. There's room for 6 people in here. We've only got a single pilot who currently has no experience points, so he's got lots of opportunity to learn some stuff. This is the Scout Command Pod. This is part of the UKS mod, and it includes a I think it includes its own sort of probe core for control. So that's why, yeah, it must, because this is a 0-star pilot, and we have all the SAS maneuvers. So it's just the same as sticking a probe core on top, which is normally what I do to enable some extra functions, because our pilots like to fly with computer assistance. So we will have just enough delta V left in this stage to finish this burn for whatever value of accuracy it may have, and then it'll basically have nothing left, so we will want to jettison it pretty soon to enable easier maneuvers. We do have a big reaction wheel on here, plus there's a reaction wheel in a Scout Command Pod, so we should overall be okay. And, okay, stop the burn. That'll have to be close enough. You are still trying to lock to the maneuver, but I don't know if there's any point in doing it anymore. So right now, we're actually on an escape velocity. Excellent. That is entirely what I was hoping for. And I am being, of course, sarcastic. How interesting. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a correction maneuver partway through over here. In particular, one of the things we're going to want to do is burn anti-normal to bring our... that was interesting that we had an encounter there, but I'm going to bring it a little lower. Oh, the moon! Ooh, that is very annoying. Okay, so we are going to somewhat intersect with the path of Minmus. Now, the question is, can we actually intersect better? The moon is going to continuously get in our way. I want to know at what point in here do we actually intersect with Minmus and not the moon. I know Minmus is in here somewhere. Oh. I think one of those... No, maybe not. It's really hard to tell when our angle is correct or not. There's an encounter with Minmus. And 100 delta V. Alright, so we'll perform this one, and then we'll worry about the tuning afterwards, just once we've got an encounter locked in. So there's only 14 delta V in the next stage, so I'm not even going to bother saving it. I'm just going to go ahead and stage right now. Detaching that. Okay. You're locked on to the new node, which isn't going to happen for some time, but that's okay. Alright, tell you what, I'll use the alarm clock here. That's true, that's a much easier way to do it. Yeah, warp me to 3 minutes before my maneuver. Please and thank you. Here we come out here. Yeah, so all our maneuver was past the moon anyway, so I think we're going to hit the moon on our way back, not on our way out. Or on a future orbit, is what it was actually doing. So we're totally fine. The moon was out of our way the entire time. Okay. Close. And it will probably be a very short burn because my thrust weight is very similar to what it was. Oh, I love seeing this. That is great. God damn it, Kerbal. Why are you so wonky sometimes? Alright, whoa. Okay, that's pretty good. And we are... Go for burn. There we go. Coming in, coming in, coming in. Okay, and I'm just going to do a slow burn for the end here. And just wait for our blue line to change. Oops. That's the return. We hit the moon. It's going to be on kill rotation here so we don't chase the node in an awkward way. Keep burning this way, and there we go. So, cancel the maneuver. We are booked for a short encounter to Minmus, which is fine and groovy. Currently on the wrong side. That's okay. So, let's do the adjustment. This is going to be very low power, so that's going to be okay. We're going to face prograde. Actually, I guess we were mostly retrograding, weren't we? So if I give it one tick of shift, it goes the wrong way. So retrograde it is. Okay. And obviously we'll have to burn anti-normal soon too. And really it's going to be a combination of the two, but let's do it this way. It's not terribly efficient, but... Okay, let me get our encounter back so I can see it. I don't think we're really missing it by very much. It's just that this far out, things are a little bit weird. And we were pretty high. There we go. So now we want to burn, I believe, anti-normal to bring this down. More into the plane. There we go. And then turn retrograde while we're still burning. That's okay. Gonna swing it over that way. And then we'll lose the encounter completely. Sure. Do we get it back? There it is. There it is. Good. That was probably a little too much, but we'll see what happens when we burn anti-normal some more. Trying to bring it down to the equator. And we want to be going anti-clockwise around Minmus. There we go. That's what we're looking for. And a little bit more. We're using very little delta V to make these adjustments. So now we actually want to go a little prograde, which should push it in a little bit more. We have tons of excess delta V for the Minmus landing. We should be able to do a moon one perfectly fine with what we've got left in the tank. Okay, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Okay, I could also derate my engines. But there we go. So I'm not going to do any more adjustments at this point until we are in the sphere of influence of Minmus. So let's quick save before, and I'm going to get rid of this, this alarm here. And I'm just concerned about all the arrows over here. So I'm just going to click up here, warp to that bit of the orbit. That's my debris on its way out. Goodbye! I wonder if we recovered all of our bits and pieces. We'll have to wait until we're done our time warp, and then I'll check the messages. I did have parachutes on every bit of my ascent stage, and it looks like, yeah, we did. Only 47%. That's the final one. That dropped from quite high and would have landed quite far. 73, 73, 77, 77. Yeah, not bad. We got some of our money back. Okay. Again, a quick save before we time warp. Sphere of influence change. This is going to stop us 3 minutes before, but that's okay too. It's always funny looking at the paths from here. Because it all makes sense once you're in orbit of Minmus, but right here, like, how do we do that? How does that happen? Okay. And this, I don't think would happen if Kerbal Space Program was actually simulating multiple gravitational things at the same time. Right now, the gravity of Minmus doesn't affect us at all until we get in there. I mean, there'd still be a curlicue, but I don't think the path would look quite the same. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would be very similar. All right, we can go through it times 50 perfectly fine. Okay. There we go. Minmus is over there. I don't know why it was showing it over there. Okay, warp a little bit more so we're properly in here. Excellent. So our periapsis, even though it was telling me before 5K, it's now showing our periapsis as negative, which means we're actually going to smack into the planet at this point, which is not what we want. I don't want to burn prograde because prograde is actually going to, because we're going to have to burn retrograde over there. So we're sort of going a little bit opposite way we want. What I think we want to do is burn pro-radial, which should push us to the right. And it does. There we go. So we're not adding more speed. We're just shifting this over to the right so that we miss the planet. Okay, so we've got that. Then here, let's be lazy. Let's use the maneuver planner in MechJeb. And we're just going to ask that we... actually, since I'm going to want to match this, I'm wondering if I shouldn't be all that low. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to burn a little bit more prograde. There we go. So that we, or not prograde, pro-radial, so that we have a little bit more height to match our inclination. And yeah, let's use this lazy thing. We're going to change the apoapsis. We're going to ask that the new apoapsis is 11 kilometers. We have to put something in that's higher than the periapsis. So create node and execute. So it'll create the node, it'll face us the correct way, it'll auto time warp to the spot, which is great, and it'll go ahead and do that. Although, again, I might have wanted to go into a larger orbit so as to make the normal or anti-normal burn a little bit more efficient, because we have to target this landing spot. Although we're pretty much on par there. We actually need very little burn to make it happen, which is nice. Okay. That's cool. All right. Not quite on target. There we go. Start the burn. We still have lots of delta V for these Minmus maneuvers. I mean, we'll use some to land and then take off again, but it's going to be pretty ridiculous. Okay, just close that loop. Obviously, executing the maneuver is pretty easy. Might as well use the maneuver planner. I like punching things into computers. It's my favorite part of this game. All right. I mean, the performance of the game is definitely better with some of these mods stripped out. Still get that garbage collection thing, which I think makes flying the planes really, really tricky. It's not as much of a problem in space. All right, looking good. Looking very good. Looking really quite spectacular here. We could use MechJeb's Autolander. I'm worried that it might screw up. I'm really worried about that. So I think we're going to end up doing things manually, because I don't really trust it. So right around here, we are going to want to do a maneuver. No, not there. More like around here. I want to do a maneuver that does that. It's pretty close. There we go. Face the node. It's a pretty short burn. 9.5 meters per second. That is very short. And alarm clock. I want the maneuver, but I want a different timer. Yeah, 1 minute to go. That's as fast as we can warp. I probably could have brought some extra science experiments with me too. I don't know. We've got most of them on the planet. This keeps the mission a little bit simpler. I'm not being bothered by the science alert, for example. And the fact that we've recovered every stage but one, and I guess we're not going to recover our fuel tanks from this particular stage here. They're going to get jettisoned before we actually land. Okay, let's get a little closer. And there, because it is going to be short. Although I'm going to start with just one tick of burn, so it's going to be a little bit longer. There we go. A couple of ticks. Burn, 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 burn. And stop. There we go. It's pretty much bang on, although, no, it still has a way to go. Go anti-normal. That's weird. Oh, because the planet rotated under me. That's what's going on. So we'll just manually burn anti-normal. Forgot about that. And there we have it. Okay. So at this point, we're going to want to start orientating ourselves for a killing of horizontal velocity. And we're going to start somewhere around here. So before I time warp, we're going to quick save again. I'm going to warp around here. Of course, the planet continues to rotate as well. It's rotating away from me, which is good because it means that I need to brake less to land. And when I take off, I'll also have a boost. So I'm going to do some of it here. There we go. And let that go a little past our spot. There we go. And then we're going to time warp till we're more or less over our destination, although we are not facing the right way. Let me go orbital, negative normal, which is not a very efficient place to do this here. Don't be in target mode. But it'll still work. I mean, it's still better than doing it when we're low. Okay, that's pretty good. Prepare to kill more horizontal velocity as we pass over our target. And then we'll switch into the forward viewing mode. Okay. Fast forward a wee bit. That is good. And go for killing horizontal velocity. There we go. And we want it to still overshoot our location just a bit. Not that much, though. Actually, at this point, we really do have to come quite straight down, because I may have waited too long for that. There we go. Because as we burn retrograde on our way down, we will be overshooting our location. Actually, we're coming straight down on it. Not bad. Let's go to cancel all surface velocity. Let's extend our lander legs. There we go. Nice bit of lag there. Extend. There we go. So I don't know exactly where we're looking to land right now. Now, we don't have to be, like, the closest, because we're going to walk the Kerbals over to here and get them into the ship. I think we could probably do a little bit better than that, though. Let me just be in kill rotation mode and see if we can find the rotation that I want. There we go. Like that. No, you know what? It's being a little slow. Let's just go into kill everything. I don't have my surface info. Hopefully, this will not crash into the surface. Oh no, we're... Good. And that's not bad. Actually, let's point up. Oh, this lag, though. Too many UI bits, I think. Okay, so the question is, which way... Okay, that's the hatch that I control from. So let's rotate so it's facing the camera, so I've got a good sense of where things are happening. Okay, kill rot. Aim down that way. Good, and then to the right. Excellent. More to the right. Good. There you go. See, it's good to figure out so you can navigate visually this way. And go for a burn this way. And then nose down a bit. Nose down and a little left. And then go ahead and burn that way. Okay, now we can go back to killing all of our surface velocity right as we pass over the destination. This turns a lot slower than I hoped. That one reaction wheel, it's a little rough. And I know that we can... I hope that didn't go too long that way. I know that with RCS, we could do something where we basically are facing straight up and then use RCS to just move us laterally. Which might be good. Okay, let's just burn straight up here. That way what'll happen is we'll keep moving sideways because we're moving in the right direction sideways at a speed of 2.3 meters per second. Actually, this is pretty good. I'll give us a little bit of up and then go to straight surface negative velocity here. That's going to be pretty damn good. I like it. We're going to just try to bring some of our surface horizontal speed down. So we're basically not moving sideways at all. Good. And then I'll lock us to up so that we don't accidentally flip our vector and then invert our thing partway through. But you can see, look at my Minmus base. Like, it just literally hopped off the ground. Actually, it's doing it now. It's hopping off the ground and then taking a while to settle again. And then next time I load the base, it does it again. And I think it's because I've got all these bits all the way out everywhere. Okay, 1 meter per second landing. That's pretty good. And touchdown at about 1.5. No, less than that. Boom. A little bit of bounce. Because it is Minmus, we're going to turn off the smartass completely and just let it settle into place. Good. And then the rest of this guy is... we're going to have to wait until this just calms the hell down. Now, I probably could have saved the base by going and detaching all these little bits on the side. But I have to get an engineer out there. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to put a cut in here. When I come back, I'm going to wait until everything stops moving. I'm just going to take all my people, move them out of here, walk into this thing, and then take off. And coming home from Minmus is obviously a very, very basic thing. What I probably do is won't make a video for it because it's not a hell of a lot to talk about. We've got 4 parachutes on here. These solar panels will collapse in, and we separate out these side boosters, so right before we come in. And we do have a heat shield at the bottom, so this should be 100% bulletproof, although I say that and I forget, you know, I'm playing Kerbal. Things don't always work that way, but... I don't think it's worth making a video for, so we're probably going to end this mission here, and I don't know. We'll see. I'll see if I'm in the mood or not. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.